Super. So we're going to move on to Erin, who's joining us all the way from America.
Wow.
Wow. Erin, big introduction there. Erin also has some sketch videos on her Noise Festival.com portfolio. So Erin, if you'd like to ask your question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask how you keep creatively motivated without having like external deadlines for yourself.
Well, a lot of the time I do have external deadlines, and to be honest, I don't want to, debunk that question, but the way I do it is to set deadlines. Like, that is the absolute key. I think it's not impossible, but it's so hard if you're just like, oh, one day I need to do this, so I'll just sort of do a bit of work on that now, and then maybe one day I'll email it to someone. That's just not good enough. So what I do is I really test myself, and I don't always make those deadlines, but the key thing is setting them. So, for example, now I'm like trying to prepare the first few pages of a dramatic script for a thriller I'm co-writing with a guy for Kudos, who they made like Broadchurch and a bunch of other series. In fact, they made Law and Order. That's how I came into contact with those producers. And they were like, they were very much like, yeah, come in whenever you like, bring us some ideas and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, no, set me a date where you want to see you choose how many pages you want to see or what you want to see, and I'll get it ready for then. And then it's just like homework, you freak out. You don't want to go to that meeting with holding nothing but your nuts, And I think it's absolutely crucial for people like us who don't have anybody pushing us or breathing down our necks. We've got to create that. We've got to create a working environment for this thing that we essentially find quite fun to do. Otherwise, the whole thing is just a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to motivate yourself. And every week I struggle with it. Every week. I never have unless I'm on a job, like, I'm on a TV show writing script, and we're shooting at the same time. That every day's got a deadline then. But if I'm not on that and I'm in between and I'm doing vanity projects and stuff, then every week there'll be, I don't know, 5 out of the 7 days where I'm sort of getting a bit panicky about not doing enough. So I think probably my main motivator is fear and the sort of depressing thought of not having this luxury lifestyle that I live, because it is luxurious. It really is. Even though I've got my own problems and I've got, I don't have unlimited money or anything like that. I have to work for every penny I get, and the vast majority of that goes to my kids, which they're very expensive creatures. But I fear for losing it, because ultimately I wake up in the morning and I get paid for my ideas, which was the dream. That was the dream when I was like 6 years old, So I think it's two things: never take your talent for granted, and always set deadlines for yourself. And if you can't keep that deadline, then hey, don't beat yourself up, but at least you had it there. And it's a slap in the face when you get there and you've done nothing. But if you can just get someone else involved who's just on you, like, how come you haven't done this yet? You said you were going to do it by the 12th, and you haven't even started. It's quite handy, that, rather than doing it all yourself, because it becomes kind of a scary pressure. Sometimes it's good to have motivational things just around. Like I've got on like all this, like wherever I look in my office, there's like a picture of Idris Elba, and he's just sort of sat back in his chair looking really mean, and there's a caption underneath it. It just says, "Shouldn't you be writing?" And it's just kind of quite helpful, because I look up to him massively, and it's a reminder that you're never going to get to the levels of your heroes or the people that you look up to if you're not going to put the time in. My sister, who's a novelist, I don't really understand how she can remain interested in working on one idea for like 4 years, but she does. And one of the things that she does is she she signs up to this program. It's an app called Freedom, and you set an amount of time, and it locks you out of the internet essentially on all your devices. It can't be overridden until that time that you set when you signed in is up. And what that means is that you can't make calls, you can't take calls, you can't send or receive emails, you can't be on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. And it weirdly, it just sort of focuses the mind. There's nothing else to focus on. So either you go out and enjoy the world and take in some sunshine or whatever, or you knuckle down and you flip him right, you know. You do what you tell everybody is your job, you know. So that's the other thing. You want to talk about being a professional actor, a professional writer, a professional comic singer, but are you? If you never treat it like a job, then you're not, you know. You're an amateur. And we all want to be professionals in this business, and people say to me, "You're so lucky. You're so lucky." I refute that constantly. I created my own good fortune by constantly working and being reliable. You know, now it's like within the world of TV and within the world of film, where I create music for films and television, which is kind of a side job for me. People come to me not just because I'm good, but because they know I'll get it done within the time frame that they've got, especially when they're short on time. And they know I'll do it at a half decent rate, you know. So it's like you create these working relationships with people, and you get known as that guy that does what he or she says they're gonna do, you know. Yeah. That's the other part of it. You know, if you're gonna be a professional, treat things professionally, but enjoy it as well, because you don't create any enjoyable art if you're not enjoying it. People need to feel the love within what you create. So I have a good time as well, you know. Like, I don't work through the night. I never work at night. I only work in the mornings. Normally by about this time I'm spent. I don't include stand-up performance in that, because obviously that happens in the evening. But I mean, in terms of writing and creating stuff, come 3 o'clock I've got nothing. Some people work through the night. I've never been able to do that. So I tend to try and see my friends, see my kids. I go out and I have a good time. I party all the time. You know, I'm gonna party after the gig tonight, because it's kind of like, that's the other side of things. It kind of keeps you alive. So you do what you enjoy, and you get inspired by your friends and the people that you're around, and the strange experiences that you have. But whatever your working hours are that you set for yourself, just work within them, man. Work within them.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Cool. I'm going to ask you a question from a guy that's not here. I just thought it'd be nice to include him. So it's called Daniel Northeast, and it's a bit of an extension to the question I was going to ask you. So you stand up, you do all this other stuff. You do loads of stuff. You were just saying then about setting your deadlines, and earlier before about crossover to rap and stuff. How important do you think is it to maintain a portfolio career, to have to keep it, what you do quite broad?
I think it's very dangerous. I think what I do is very, very risky, and can be massively detrimental. I'm actually quite jealous of people that I know in the business who have just become masters of one trade, and they always work in that trade, you know. I mean, I was listening to an interview today with the actress Rosamund Pike, and she's worked so hard and done so well, and she's a lovely person. She deserves it. But I'm jealous of her, because like this week she's got 2 films coming out: What We Did on Our Holidays with David Tennant, and Gone Girl with Ben Affleck. In the David Tennant film, she plays like a mumsy character, the mother of 3, you know, whose marriage is breaking down. And in Gone Girl, obviously, if you read the book, she plays an absolute psychopath, a murderous lying, you know, couldn't be any less maternal if she tried. So, and two characters from different countries as well. So she's got that beautiful thing that I really, really look up to, where she's become a master of her trade, and she's just gone from one job to the next, but all in the same arena. Whereas for me, I've not become a master of anything except rap, which was a world that I failed in. I didn't take it to the level where I was making a living for any longer than like 2 years at a time, and that's out of 10 years of doing it. So I'm yet to become a master of any trade, but I've become quite good through practice at a number of different things, and I get hired to do a number of different things, which is amazing in terms of myself being like, I don't know if I've got ADD or something, but I get very bored very easily. I think that's why I party as hard as I work and I travel as much as I do, because I constantly want to experience new things. But the downside to that is, well, if I just focused on stand-up for the 6 years that I've been doing it, I think I probably could be on that arena level, like doing what like Michael McIntyre does and stuff like that. I just didn't want it enough. Like I get bored with stuff, and I'm like, now I want to try something different. So the obvious detriment of that is that you become, you know, the jack of all trades and a master of nothing. You start spreading yourself way too thin, and I really felt it last year when I was touring in the evenings and then getting up at the crack of dawn and shooting. I think I was shooting Midsummer Murders, and then I went straight on from that, literally from the last day of the shoot. The next day I started shooting in Manchester a comedy series for Comedy Central called Give Out Girls, like a sitcom, and all the while I was performing at night, and in my spare moments I was developing scripts for the third series of my kids show on CBBC, and I just wasn't, like, it got to the point where I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't doing any of those jobs particularly well. I was just kind of, you know, just trying to crack on and be there and get paid. And then I just thought, you know what, that wasn't an enjoyable year. I didn't really enjoy any of the things that I did properly because I was constantly thinking about the other thing and panicking about all this stuff I had on my plate. Whereas 2014 has just been so much more focused. You know, I've managed to work out my diary so that, okay, I'm on a shoot until this date, and I'm going to just do the shoot, and I'm going to do anything else, you know, and then at the end of that shoot, then I can get into this children's writing, and then I know that the TV show that I write scripts for is starting up again in the summer, so I'll move on to that, and I'll just do the odd stand-up gig here and there, and I think that's possibly the best approach, because ultimately everybody on this panel is intellectual, is smart, and talented, and you got those two things. You're never just gonna do one thing whilst you're developing, you know, until, you know, say Adriel's getting, you know, millions of dollars for every script he writes. He's not gonna suddenly start trying to be a juggler. Do you know what I mean? He's just gonna focus on his screenwriting, because that's where the money's coming from. So it's this developmental stage that you're all in that I think is the dangerous time, you know, because what the powers that be want to see is that when you walk into the room, you're the boss of whatever medium you claim to be a part of, you know, and I can't say that I am of any of the things that I do.
If you had to be a master of one of those trades, which one would you choose?
I think it would probably be dramatic acting, because for me personally, with the kind of insecurities that I have and the personal life that I have, it's much better for me not to be alone. I don't really do alone well, which is ironic because the vast majority of the work that I create, I have to be alone to do it. But if you look at where a lot of that work goes, if it's stand-up that I'm writing, then I've created it alone, but you perform it alone. You travel to the gig alone, and you leave alone. And whether you smash the gig and everybody loves it, or you die on your ass and everybody hates it, you still kind of feel the same afterwards. You're just alone. And to do that for a lifetime, that's not for me. I've seen guys who've done it for a lifetime, and they're weird. Like Jimmy Carr is a weird guy. I never want to be like him, you know? Whereas when you're acting, you're with like 150 people minimum on a professional shoot, you know, and there's so many different types of people there. It's like joining a new college or something like that. It's scary, but there's so many new friends to make, and you're only alone when you want to be, which is how life is, you know, and that's why I like that medium the best. Plus, you know, if you mess up when you're acting, you just do it again. Stand up, there's no second chances. It's terrifying.